On September 8th, 2020, THQ Nordic will release a remaster of what many consider one of the most underrated gems of the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era. A game that, despite earning good reviews and selling very well, would end after only one entry, as the studio that developed the game, 38 Studios, filed for bankruptcy a little over 3 months after the game was released. What happened? How did this happen? Today, we will discuss the why and how. This is Cannan of the Geeky Saying Couple, and this is the story of 38 Studios, their rise and fall, and the re-reckoning of the game they left behind. Our story starts with Kurt Schilling. Born on November 14th, 1966, in Anchorage, Alaska, he went on to be one of the most successful pitchers in the Major League Baseball League. His biggest achievements include taking the Philadelphia Phillies to the 1993 World Series and winning championships in 2001 with the Arizona Diamondbacks and in 2004 and 2007 with the Boston Red Sox. Schilling retired with a career postseason record of 11-2, and his .846 postseason winning percentage is a major league record among pitchers with at least 10 decisions. He is a member of the 3,000 Strikeout Club and has the highest strikeout to walk ratio of any of its members. He is tied for third for the most 300 strikeout seasons, and of post-19th century pitchers, Schilling was the second highest JAWS, which stands for Joff Wins Above Replacement Score, of any pitcher that is not in the Hall of Fame, only behind Roger Clemens. During a family holiday gathering in December 2005, Schilling approached his wife's uncle, Bill Thomas, who was a retired business executive, with the idea to start a video game company. He was interested in building a new, massive multiplayer online role-playing game, or as we know as the MMORPG, which was a type of game that Schilling frequently played and enjoyed. In 2006, Schilling announced his plans to 6 of his gaming friends while chatting online, asking them, and I quote, "I'm seriously contemplating starting a gaming company. Who else is in?" Schilling would recruit all 6 of those friends, his wife's uncle Thomas, author R.A. Salvatore, who is best known for the Demon Wars saga, his Forgotten Realms novels, and Vector Prime, and he was also the one that wrote the first novel in the Star Wars The New Jedi Order series. He has sold more than 15 million copies of his books in the United States alone, and 22 of his titles have been New York Times bestsellers. Also recruited was author/artist Todd McFarlane, who is best known as the creator of Image's comic superhero Spawn, and also the founder of McFarlane Toys. So really, this was not a bad lineup so far for an upcoming new studios. This was, you got the guy who created Spawn to do all the artwork, and you've got a really well-known New York Times best-selling author in R.A. Salvatore. In 2006, the company leased 30,000 square feet of office space in downtown Maynard, Massachusetts, at the historic Old Mill building, then called Clock Tower Place. A press release formally announced the creation of Green Monster Games, also known as GMG, in September of 2006. The president and CEO of the company was Brett Close, and the CTO was John Laff, who formerly worked with Electronic Arts. At the start of spring training in 2007, the company was renamed from Green Monster Games to 38 Studios to give, as quoted, more accurate reflection of what our company is working to achieve. 38 was also Schilling's number in baseball. In 2008, the company hired Travis McGathey, a former lead designer for Sony Online Entertainment's EverQuest. On May 27, 2009, 38 Studios acquired Rise of Nations developer Big Huge Games from THQ, which was a California-based video game developer and publisher. More on them later. On August 21st, 38 Studios announced that CEO Brett Close had left the company and Jennifer McLean, former SVP of Business Development, had been named the new CEO. So the original CEO has already left. If you don't think that's really a big deal, it's a very small sign of things to come. Although no games had yet been released, in July 2010, the Rhode Island Economic Development Corporation, also known as EDC, approved a $75 million loan guarantee to 38 Studios, who in exchange had committed to bring 450 jobs to the state by the end of 2012. A $75 million guaranteed loan. That is for back then, that is a huge number. You don't just sign off a $75 million loan that's guaranteed. On November 3rd, 2010, 38 Studios announced the completion of the $75 million financing package in conjunction with the Rhode Island EDC and their planned relocation to Providence, Rhode Island in early 2011. And on April 8th, 2011, the relocation began, and it was completed by April 12th, and 160 employees began working in the new space. The future did indeed look bright for 38 Studios. At this point, the company was simultaneously developing two initial products. The first, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, a single-player game which was developed by the company's Big Huge Games subsidiary and to be published by Electronic Arts. It was introduced to the public at the 2010 San Diego Comic-Con International Convention. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning was promoted as an action role-playing video game being made for PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360, and it was announced that not only was Big Huge Games developing it, but 38 Studios was as well, while EA would publish it. Kingdoms of Amalur featured 5 distinct regions, 4 playable races, which you can choose the gender, and 3 class trees with 22 abilities per tree. The 3 classes, which are called Might, Finesse, and Sorcery, are pretty much fighter, rogue, and mage classes, and you can mix them up. If you want to be a warrior plus a magic user, you can. If you want to be a rogue plus a magic user, you can. The game has a lot of ways you can mix and match the way you play. As the player fights and gains experience, additional levels are unlocked, of course. With each level gained, the player gains 3 ability points, which can be invested in the skill tree system to unlock or augment the 22 abilities, or put points into one of the other trees. By completing faction quests and investing ability points in certain amounts and minimum combinations in the various skill trees, the player can also unlock various destinies, which add positive buffs to the player. Combat is based on timing of button presses, similar to other action RPG games, with occasional quick-time event cutscenes. The combat includes a fate system, which allows players to accumulate fate points and ultimately enter Reckoning mode, a slow-motion mode that allows the player to quickly dispatch enemies. The Reckoning mode may end on player's command, with the depletion of the fate bar, or by the act of fate shifting an enemy. Fate shifting involves performing a brutal finishing move on a single enemy. During the cosmetic face shifting phase, the player may rapidly tap a random button which is chosen and displayed by the game to increase the experience yield to 100%. After the fate shift, all weakened enemies also die. The player can travel on land, jump down from pre-designed spots, and swim in the water. The player has the ability to communicate with, rob, or kill NPCs. Each of these actions have their own consequences. 38 Studios founder Kurt Schilling said the style of the game would be a marriage between the God of War series and the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. The game was also unique in that it was a single-player game, but played very much like an MMO, just without the online capability and multiplayer. The playable demo was released on January 17, 2012 for Windows through Steam and Origin, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3. Playing the demo unlocks special items for use in the full version of the game, as well as in the upcoming Mass Effect 3. You would get an armor in Reckoning that resembled Commander Shepard's armor, and you would get a unique armor and weapon in Mass Effect 3. The demo quickly garnered attention for being, according to Kurt Schilling, who quoted, "way more buggy than anything anyone should ever release," close quote, with wide-ranging glitches affecting even the simplest gameplay. Now, I played the demo myself back in the day, and I have to say, I don't remember any real glitches in the demo. I really had no problem playing the game. The game released in North America on February 7th, 2012, and in Europe on February 10th. The game enjoyed moderate success and received positive reviews and sold an estimated 330,000 copies in its first month, rising to 1.2 million copies in the first 90 days, according to Schilling. High points of the game feature author R.A. Salvatore's lore, which he created over 10,000 years of backstory for the Amalur IP, and Todd McFarlane's art direction, and the score was created by Grant Kirkhope, who worked on soundtracks for Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong 64, GoldenEye 007, and Perfect Dark. So this game had all these huge names behind it, and it was a moderate success, and it should have been an even bigger success. Many claim it should have been a Game of the Year contender. Later, 2 DLC expansions were released for the game, The Legend of Dead Kale on March 20th, 2012, and Teeth of Naros on April 17th, 2012. All this while, a second title, codename Copernicus, which was a massive multiplayer game, was in the works, and a sequel to Reckoning was announced to be in pre-development. But sadly, it would never come to pass. The state of Rhode Island became concerned over 38 Studios' finances after the company defaulted on a $1.125 million loan payment on May 1st. When a check was returned due to insufficient funds and asked for further help from the state. The second payment attempt by the studio on May 18th, 17 days past the due date, in the form of a wire transfer, and then a personal check from an unnamed source, which was successful. However, 38 Studios consequently was unable to make payroll that week. Keith Stokes, executive director of Rhode Island EDC, turned in his resignation, which was accepted by the governor on May 16th. WPRI reported that both CEO Jennifer McLean and Senior Vice President of Product Development John Blakely had said that they had left the company. McLean dated her departure to March 2012 when she took her leave of absence, and that's when the DLC was being made and released. Like, as you can see, the sailors are abandoning this sinking ship already. On May 12, 2012, 38 Studios officially declared bankruptcy, ceasing operations and laying off its entire staff and that of Big Huge Games via a mass email. Schilling publicly addressed the studio's failure on a Boston radio station, revealing that he never took a salary and ended up losing his entire personal fortune of $50 million that he saved while playing baseball. He lost everything. He was even quoted of saying, "I'm tapped out. I put everything in my name in this company, but I'm not asking for sympathy. That was my choice." Close quote. Schilling would later state that the governor of Rhode Island's comments on the game being a failure scared away a deal that would have potentially saved the studio. And things got worse. The Rhode Island State Police, the Attorney General's office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the FBI all began investigations into the company on June 6, 2012. It was reported that some studio executives from 38 Studios knew that the money they accepted from the EDC was not enough to finish development of Project Copernicus. They took this money knowing they didn't have the funds. In March 2006, SEC became involved in the matter, and they charged both Rhode Island Commerce Corporation as well as Wells Fargo with securities fraud, specifically noting that the two companies were very much aware that the $75 million loan was not enough for 38 Studios to finish work on Project Copernicus, but failed to notify bond investors of the risk. This was a major scandal. The Rhode Island Commerce settled with the SEC for a $50,000 civil penalty on March 29, 2017. The investigation by the Rhode Island State Police, however, did not come up with sufficient evidence to file criminal charges against the studio. However, civil litigation continued, ultimately leading to gross settlements with Schilling and other defendants of approximately $61 million. The settlements have left the state of Rhode Island paying approximately $28 million on bonds. Now, I don't know how much goes into running a state. I'm sure it's a lot. But you would think this would have almost bankrupted the state of Rhode Island. Like, this one little gaming company who put out one game caused all this. Like, I'm sure it was madness in the state of Rhode Island at that time. Like, who would have ever thought that a gaming studio who put out only one game, a game that sold very well, would cost the state of Rhode Island this much money? Several lawsuits followed, of course, and Curt Schilling continued to have an up and down life. He battled and won against cancer, got involved in politics, and is now a commentator for Blaze TV. As for the Kingdoms of Amalur sequel, the state of Rhode Island pretty much kept the IP, and they held on to it, and sadly, the game's future was dead for a very long 6 years. Then in September of 2018, there was a little bit of hope. THQ Nordic announced it had acquired the IP assets from 38 Studios, including Kingdoms of Amalur and Project Copernicus, which quickly gave hope that something would be done with the series. I remember when this was announced, and I was very happy. I was like, please do something with it, whether it be a re-release or a sequel. Though they did state at that time that the publishing rights still belong to EA, so releasing a remaster was up to them. And I was pretty much like, well, that's never going to happen. And it's kind of ironic that THQ Nordic is the ones who bought the IP, because as we saw earlier in the video, in the beginning, the original THQ was connected to the game. And sadly, THQ itself would file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in December 2012, roughly around 7 months after 38 Studios. And eventually, Nordic Games bought the trademark in 2014 and became THQ Nordic in 2016. So really, THQ Nordic's kind of went full circle with this game in a way. It's kind of weird how this all played out. And then finally, in early June of 2012, a remastered version of Reckoning was leaked on the official Microsoft Store, and originally had a release of August 11th, 2020. So, of course, this caused a lot of news, like, is this real? Is this fake? You know, because whenever leaks like this happen, you you want to be excited, but you've always got to take it with a little grain of salt because anybody could leak this stuff. But later that day, THQ Nordic would later confirm that it was real, and that sadly it had been leaked before they could make an official announcement, and the release date was changed to August 18th, 2020. Now, the remaster has been said to include improved visuals, refined gameplay, and they've also said that with refined gameplay, like, they're going to make the game feel better. So I'm guessing they are going to tweak the gameplay a little bit, and it'll also include all DLC. It will release on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and it will have both a standard and a collector's edition, but also a digital version called the Fates Edition will also be released. There's still no word yet if gamers who already own the game, the original on Steam, will get a free upgrade. Kind of hope so, because I own the game on Steam. So this was a huge and welcoming surprise for me and many others who got to play this game back in the day. The game can now reach a whole new generation of gamers, or gamers who never heard of the game, who just never picked it up back then. Now, the original version and its DLC is still available on Steam and on the PS3 and 360 to buy and download, and I've always seen a copy of the original at secondhand stores. I actually still have my original PS3 copy. Hopefully the remaster really does do well, as this game really, really deserves a second chance. Also, it's a pretty good thing that I waited to record this video, because only about a week ago, as of the recording of this video, THQ Nordic released an announcement trailer, and we got a new release date, that being September 8th, 2020. So you're looking at about a 3-week delay, which is fine, but the even bigger news is that the remaster is also getting a whole new expansion called Fatesworn in 2021. This is all new content. This game is already huge, and it just got bigger. I could not believe my eyes when I saw this. It's like a dream come true, really. It furthers my hopes that if they are making brand new content for the remaster, that yes, one day we will get a sequel, and hopefully the MMO will also see the light of day. Kingdoms of Amalur is a great game. Playing it, you wouldn't think it had such a bad story behind it, despite all the bad financial decisions. I have to give Kurt and 38 Studios credit. They made a damn good game. Could it have been better? Well, that's a matter of opinion. For me, the game is great how it is, but I am very curious to see how the remaster is, and I've also never played any of the DLC expansions before, so that will be a first for me, and with news that we are getting yet another expansion that will be 100% brand new, has me even more excited. I do plan to do a Let's Play episode of the original to talk more about the game. I don't know if it will become a series, but who knows. I also plan to do an unboxing of the Collector's Edition as well as soon as it releases, because I already do have mine fully paid for, so be on the lookout for both those videos in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I enjoyed making it, and it really blows my mind how much went wrong behind the scenes, where the game actually ended up being a good game. Hopefully you give the game a chance yourself, and if you have played it, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. As always, if you enjoyed the video, think about subscribing. We try and upload almost daily. Click the notification bell so you'll be notified every time we upload. Please give the video a like, it really helps, and share the video around. This game means a lot to me. It's one of my all-time favorite RPGs, and it's probably my favorite RPG on the older systems, so I am so glad it's like the Phoenix and has rose from the ashes for a second chance. This is Cannan. Stay safe out there, everyone, and please remember, me and Jess love you all very much, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.